Guru Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai. His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna WECAN ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Bo. So Hare Krishna dear devotees. So I thank His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Her Grace Panpege Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving me opportunity to present my realization on this Sri Isopanishad mantra 16, Isho 16. Yeah. So just a minute. Okay. Okay, let me share a screen. We will begin by actually reciting the verse, and then we will actually begin our discussion on translation and purport. Okay. Hare Krishna. Devanshi Mataji, can you see the screen that I shared?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'm not able to see the screen actually.
No? Okay. Let me, I think I'll reshare it. I think should be. Okay. I think it is sharing. It is saying your screen is sharing now.
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay. So I think Sanjeev Prabhu actually he concluded the mantra 15. So this is actually part of the Sri Isopanishad where actually prayers are being offered. So just actually this is continuation of the same prayer what you discussed in mantra 15. So so you can just go back. We just recite that and then actually we will continue the 16. So Hiranmayena patrena satyasa pihitam mukham tatvam pushan apurino satya dharmaya drishtate. For whatever synonyms, translation and purport, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So in last mantra, it is said that, O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. Okay, so here actually prayer is actually offered to Lord Krishna, and request is made to remove the dazzling effulgence, from his face. So we can see his actually real blissful form, right? So this is just a continuation of the same prayer in the next mantra 16. Okay, so this is I think it's a Vacho Vegam meter, issue 16. I will recite first and then we'll begin with the intermediate class devotees to recite that. Pushannekarše Yamasur Prajapatya Yuva Rashmin Samuha Tejo Yate Rupam Kalyantamam Tatate Pashyami Yosau Asau Purushaha Soham Asmi Pushannekarše Yamasur Prajapatya Yuva Rashmin Samuha Tejo Yate Rupam Kalyantamam Tatate Pashyami Yosau Asau Purushaha Soham Asmi Pushannekarše Yamasur Prajapatya Yuva Rashmin Samuha Tejo Yate Rupam Kalyantamam Tate Pashyami Yosau Asau Purushaha Soham Asmi. Okay, I think it need bit of a practice to actually sing that in meter. So, but I think as we practice, I think it will become more easier. So maybe Divansh Mataji, you wanna give it a try?
Mr. Prabhuji, I'll try.
Yeah.
पूषन् एकर्षे यमसूर्यप्रजापत्या व्यूहा रश्मीन् समूहतेजो यत्ते रूपं कल्याणतमं तत् ते पश्यामि योषाव असौ पुरुषः सोऽहम् अस्मि.
That's good, Mataji. Yeah.
पूषन् एकर्षे यमसूर्यप्रजापत्या व्यूहा रश्मीन् समूहतेजो यत्ते रूपं यत्ते रूपं कल्याणतमं तत् ते पश्यामि योऽसाव असौ पुरुषः सोऽहम् अस्मि.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. That's good, Mataji. So, I think there's anyone there from intermediate class. I think no. I think they're still to join. So we will continue with our discussion. So for let's start with the word-to-word synonyms, translation, and purport. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai. So here, Pushan Ekarshe Yamasurya Prajapatya. So Pushan, or maintainer, Ek Rishi, the primeval philosopher. Yama, regulative principle. Surya, the destination of the Suris, great devotees. Prajapatya, the well-wisher of Prajapatis, progenitor of mankind. Yuva, kindly remove. Rashmin, the rays. Samuha, kindly withdraw. Tejaha, effulgence. Yat, so that. Te, yours. Rupam, form. Kalyana, tamam, most auspicious. Tat, that. Te, your. Pashami, I may see. Yaha, one who is. Asau, like the sun. Asau, that. Purushaha, the personality of Godhead. Saha, myself. Aham, I. Ashmi, am. So here, just looking at the word to word synonyms, I think Pushan as a maintainer. So Lord is the maintainer of everyone. And Eka Rishi, so is a primeval philosopher or original philosopher, Lord Krishna. Yama, so Yam Niyam, so this is actually same Yam Niyam. So Yama, the regulative principle. So even the Yam, Yam Raj. So he's also actually regulating. So he's regulating, a lot of rules and regulation within the material world. Surya, so the destination of Surya, so great devotees, is called as Surya. Prajapatya, so the well-wisher of Prajapatis. So here it says the progenitor of mankind. Yuva, so remove Rashmin, the rays, and Samuha Tejaha, kindly withdraw the effulgence. So the request is made here to kindly remove the rays and withdraw the effulgence from the face. So that your form, which is most auspicious, that I may see. So here it is said that actually the form of the Lord is the most auspicious. So once actually the rays and effulgence is removed, so devotees, they can able to see the most blissful, most auspicious form of the Lord. So one who is just like a sun, and that is the Purusha. So word Purusha is actually used here, the personality of Godhead. So it's actually the clear, actually the attribute of the personality. Saha, myself, aham, I, asmi, am. So you can actually pretty much, when you read, O maintainer, the primal philosopher, the regulative principle, the destination of Suris, the great devotees, the well-wisher of the Prajapatis, progenitor of mankind, kindly remove the rays, kindly withdraw effulgence, so that your form most auspicious, that your I may see. One who is like a sun, like the sun, that personality of Godhead, myself, I am. So, translation: O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulative principle, destination of the pure devotees, well wisher of the progenitor of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. So, okay, I think just actually just focus on the translation before you go on to the purport. So here the prayer, as I said, is continuation from the last mantra 15. You say that prayer is actually rendered, where you say the, oh my Lord, and actually Lord is referred as a primeval philosopher. He's the original philosopher, and maintainer of the universe. So as we know, Lord Krishna actually maintains everything and every being, uh, and he's a regulative principle, destination of a pure devotee. So the ultimate object of the actually bhakti yoga process, so the devotees wanted to actually attain that actually eternal Lord, eternal abode of the Lord. So he's the actually ultimate destination, and he's the well wisher of progenitors of mankind. So this point actually came when we also studied, actually nectar of instruction, where Lord is also referred as a self-sufficient philosopher, and he is a well-wisher of everyone. And the prayer is made, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. So actually the Lord's form, the rupa, rupam, actually the word used here, is actually covered by a dazzling effulgence, as you have already discussed in mantra 15. So the Lord's form is actually covered by the effulgence, the rays from the body of Lord Krishna. So that is also called the Brahman. So the request, actually, the prayer is made to remove that effulgence, of the transcendental rays, so that devotees can see the Lord's blissful form. So you are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. So this point is very important. So actually, uh, because Ishopanishad is said that actually it actually speak about the impersonal aspect, but there is also actually a lot of points, a lot of discussion about the personal aspect of the Lord as well. So it is clearly actually referred here, Lord Krishna as a Purusha, the eternal supreme personality of Godhead. So and actually then it is said that like unto the sun as am I. So there is actually qualitative similarity, right? So as a spirit soul, we are actually same in quality with the Lord, but actually we actually differ when we actually look into the quantity. So yes, we are actually exactly similar to actually Lord Krishna, who's a Satchidananda Vigraha. So in quality, we are same with the Lord, but in quantity, we are very, very minute. So this point has been actually, we have discussed this point many times, in many different forums. So, but actually, as we go through the purport, then actually we will realize that actually how Srila Prabhupada has actually emphasized again the personal form of the Lord, So the ultimate realization is to actually, so the initial realization, and as a Brahman realization, then it actually progress into the Paramatma realization, and ultimately the complete realization of Lord Krishna as a Bhagwan realization. So those points will be actually discussed as we go through the purport. Okay, I think I need a volunteer. I think Divyansh Mataji, you are the only one here. Would you like to read the purport? Hare Krishna. Can you hear? Can you hear me, Mataji?
Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes, Mataji, I can hear you now.
The sun and its rays are one and the same, qualitatively. Similarly, the Lord and the living entities are one and the same in quality. The sun is one, but the molecules of the sun's rays are innumerable. The sun's rays constitute part of the sun, and the sun and its rays conjointly constitute the complete sun. Within the sun itself resides the sun.
Hare
And
Krishna, Mataji, I think your voice is, I think, is very low. I think maybe you might hold the mic closer to your mouth. Yeah.
That's what I've done, Prabhuji. Let me
Okay. Now,
rejoin the meeting.
yes, very clear now. Okay.
Okay. Um, yeah. Within the sun itself resides the sun god. And similarly, within the supreme spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan, from which the Brahma Jyoti refulgence is emanating, the Lord enjoys his eternal pastimes, as verified in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 29. Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa viksha lakshavriteshu surabhit abhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasrashatasam Sambrahmasevymanam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govind, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in abodes filled with spiritual gems, and surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or goddesses of fortune.
Okay. So here, the first part of the purport. So Srila Prabhupada actually he used the analogy of a sun. The sun and its rays are one and the same qualitatively. Similarly, Lord and the living entities are the one and the same in quality. So here, actually, sun, actually, and the sun rays. So there is qualitatively there is no difference. So similarly, and it is said that within the actually the sun is one, but the molecules of the sun rays they are innumerable. So sun rays constitute the part of a sun, and the sun and its rays co-jointly constitute the complete sun. And within the sun itself reside the sun god. So similarly, within the supreme spiritual planet Golok Vrindavan, from which the Brahma Jyoti effulgence is emanating, the Lord enjoys the eternal pastimes. So here, the actually is very nicely described by using the example of sun here. So Krishna, he actually resides in his actually eternal abode, in a Vaikuntha Lok planet, and the topmost planet is a Golok Vrindavan. So he resides in a Golok Vrindavan. So as it says that actually, as the sun god resides uh, in actually sun disk. So Krishna residing in Golok Vrindavan, and actually all the living entities, So in Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed by Lord Krishna that actually all the living entities, they are very minute. They are actually part and parcel of Lord Himself. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So Mamai Vamsho, my own amsh. So he's actually his own amsh. So he's actually part and parcel of the Lord. The so living entities. So they are also innumerable. There is no count. So these are the actually eternally separated parts. The living entities. So the analogy is given here: the sun and the sun rays. So as the sun and sun rays in quality they are the same. There is no difference. Similarly, Lord Krishna and all the living entities, they are in quality, they are same. So the Lord's form is actually made of three elements, Satchit Anand, Satchidanand Vigraha, as we call it. So the spirit soul is also made of these three, the same ingredient, Sat, Chaitanya, Anand, the knowledge, eternity, and bliss. So we are qualitatively same, but I think we differ in a quantity, that actually we already know now, because we also had a similar discussion in a beginners program in the last, I think, 2 weeks, where the actually concept was actually discussed. The example was given, actually uh, when you take a glass of water and you add another half a glass of water in it, there is no difference qualitatively. It mixes, but actually quantity increases, right? So that way we can actually say that we are actually the spirit soul are individual, they are actually same in quality of the Lord, but we differ in a quantity. So we are very, very, very minute as compared to the Lord Krishna. So in Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed the size of a spirit soul as well, So it is said that actually the Keshagra, the tip of the hair, if we divide the tip of the hair into 10,000 parts, that so the one part actually constitute the size of an individual spirit soul. So because we are actually very minute, then actually that's why when we actually appear in this material world or take birth in this material world, we are actually, because we are very minute, we are actually come under the influence of the three modes of the material nature. But Lord is above the material modes of the nature. He's actually the control of the modes of the material nature. So that is actually the difference. But for the actually impersonalist philosophy, they always actually contest this point that actually they are actually same in quality of the Lord, and they want to actually merge into the Lord. So that's why they do not think actually they want to actually become one with the Lord. And that's why it is said that is actually that is again ahankar. They think that they are as good as the Lord. So that point will again come here because especially the last sentence of uh, the actual translation, where it says that you are the supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the Son as I am, So the Soham Asmi. So they may actually use this to prove that point that actually, yes, I'm no different than God, I'm exactly same as the God. So, I'm as good as the God. But actually, our philosophy, the when we study Bhagavad Gita, so Dvait philosophy. So we think that we are actually individual, and Lord is also the individual. We do not actually want to merge into the God, do not want to become one with the God, but actually impersonalist philosophy or Mayavadis, they want to attain a liberation, and after the liberation, they want to actually become one with the God. So there is a philosophical difference, but I think that will be further explained as we go. And then Srila Prabhupada actually referring here the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 29. So where it is said that actually the further description of the Lord's eternal abode, Golok Vrindavan, is given here. Here it says that I worship Govinda, the primary Lord, the first progenitor. So Lord is actually first progenitor, right? So when there is a creation, actually a Lord, as is actually the Purusha expansion, he actually glances at the material nature. So before his glance, there was no any actually cosmic creation. So when he glances and he impregnates the actually material nature, that's how the actually living entities are actually they come into existence. So he's a first progenitor who's tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in abode filled with the spiritual gems. So the actually Lord's abode, the Golak Vrindavan, there is actually is a spiritual world, it's a spiritual planet, and it is description given in Brahma Samhita that actually the buildings there in the actually the palaces, sorry, in the Golak Vrindavan, they are actually bedecked with the beautiful spiritual gems, and also they are all surrounded by millions of wish fulfilling trees, so actually these trees, I think this point was also discussed, by Amrish Prabhu. So actually, anything that you wish, the trees can actually fulfill all your desires. So it is said here that they are surrounded by millions of wish fulfilling trees, and he's always served with a great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis, or goddesses of fortune. So the Lord is actually served in his eternal abode by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis. So all this actually description, actually given in Brahma Samhita, and these actually Srila Prabhupada also, always mention this verse in many of his lectures, where this point is actually described many times, that actually the Lakshmis or goddesses of fortune, they're always busy serving Lord Krishna, and there is not just one, goddess of fortune. There are hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis, and he's the actually Lord. Okay, we'll continue the purport, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Just a minute. Yeah.
The sorry.
Brahma Jyoti.
Yes. Now the screen was loading. Sorry. The Brahma Jyotir is described in the Brahma Samhita as the rays emanating from that supreme spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. Just as the sun's rays emanate from the sun globe, until one surpasses the glare of the Brahma Jyotir, one cannot receive information of the land of the Lord. The impersonalist philosophers, blinded as they are by the dazzling Brahma Jyotir, can realize neither the factual abode of the Lord nor his transcendental form. Limited by their poor fund of knowledge, such impersonalist thinkers cannot understand the all blissful transcendental form of Lord Krishna. In this prayer, therefore, Sri Isopanishad petitions the Lord to remove the effulgent rays of the Brahma Jyotir so that the pure devotee can see his all blissful transcendental form.
Okay, so here actually the Brahma Jyotir, is actually described in Brahma Samhita, and Brahma Jyoti is described here as the rays emanating from the spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. So in the previous verse, it is actually clearly stated there that actually, yes, the rays coming from the spiritual world, but these are actually basically the rays emanating from the Lord's body. It actually the spiritual, his form coming from his body. So it's called body rays, and they are actually emanating from the Golok Vrindavan. So that is actually is called as a Brahma Jyoti, Brahman. And the point here is said that unless one surpasses the glare of the Brahma Jyoti, one cannot receive the information of the land of the Lord. The impersonalist philosopher, blinded as they are by dazzling Brahma Jyoti, can realize neither the factual abode of the Lord nor his transcendental form. So, if you actually want to realize, the supreme personality of Godhead, or if you want to actually want to know about the spiritual planet, then you have to actually go beyond the Brahma Jyoti, but for the impersonalist philosophers, actually, they think the Brahman is the ultimate. For them, is the Brahman is the actually ultimate destination. That's why they think that is actually Brahman is the supreme, and that's why they want to merge, and they think that that's the ultimate destination. But they are actually, Srila Prabhupada says that actually they are blinded by the dazzling Brahma Jyoti, and because of their poor fund of knowledge, the impersonalist thinker, they cannot understand the all blissful transcendental form of the Lord, and they also cannot have any information of the factual information about the abode of the Lord, that is the Golok Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada, I think, he has explained, in many places, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto First, there is a verse, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yathor Bhakti Radokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Su Prasiddhati. So, referring to this verse, Srila Prabhupada actually he focus on this one word is actually Adhokshaj, So it is one of the name of a Krishna, Adhokshaj, one that actually pushes down. So Srila Prabhupada, he was actually, he explained that actually Krishna is called Adhokshaj, you know, because he always push down or actually defeats all the efforts made by these Mayavadi philosopher or actually uh, the mental speculators, who try to understand Lord Krishna by the dint of their knowledge, or experimental knowledge. So Adhokshaj, actually, what it indicates is that one who actually defeats all the efforts made by this mental speculator or Mayavadis to try to understand God on their by the experimental knowledge. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that it's because of their poor fund of knowledge, because the knowledge they have is limited, because as a actually living entity or uh, one who is actually born within this material nature with a material body, our senses are imperfect, as we studied. So our senses are imperfect and we have a limited intelligence as well. So with the limited senses and limited intelligence, we cannot really understand the supreme Lord. We cannot able to conceive the inconceivable with our limited intelligence. So because of their poor fund of knowledge, their realization cannot go beyond the Brahma Jyoti. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that because of their poor fund of knowledge, they cannot, they're never able to understand the factual abode, of the Lord, any information of the Golok Vrindavan or the transcendental, all blissful form of the Lord Krishna, which is actually the personal form. They do not actually Mayavadis, they do not accept the personal form of the Lord. That's why they call impersonalists. So this is important point. And Srila Prabhupada actually in Bhagavad Gita, he says that one has to actually, yes, one can attain the actually Brahman realization. But unless one progresses further to the Paramatma and ultimately the Bhagwan realization, uh, actually he will be actually stuck into that actually Brahman, and there is always chance for them to again fall down. So in chapter, I think it's 14, verse 27, Srila Prabhupada, where it says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So Brahmano hi pratishtaham, where in translation it is said that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. So Lord Krishna is saying I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So in Brahman, actually, uh, the the aspect of eternity and the aspect of knowledge, so you can actually they realize that actually they achieve the eternity and they also achieve the knowledge, but the bliss part, the ananda part is not realized. That what actually Srila Prabhupada actually points out. So because they couldn't able to realize that actually bliss form, so as they actually want to they want to become one with the actually, they want to merge into the actually the Brahma Jyotir, and they want to actually annihilate their individuality, so and they become one, merge into the Brahma Jyotir. So even they actually attain the Brahma Jyotir or Brahman, so they're always lacking, the bliss or happiness, because there is no, because and they also refute the personal form of the Lord. So there is no opportunity to have the actually to render the devotional service unto the Lord. So there is no reciprocation. So when there is no reciprocation, then there is a no bliss or no happiness. And actually that's why Srila Prabhupada explained this point, that actually because they always hanker for this, then they have to ultimately have to fall down, back to the again material world, to actually just to experience this happiness again. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that actually one has to actually progress further from the Brahman stage, to the Paramatma, which is the all-pervading form of the Lord, and then ultimately the Bhagwan feature, Bhagwan form. which is actually the most blissful and most auspicious, and the topmost form of the Lord. That is what is called the complete realization of a Lord Krishna, the Bhagwan realization. And that is actually what is actually emphasized in Bhakti Yoga process. So we actually want to actually attain the eternal abode of the Lord, the Golok Vrindavan or Vaikuntha Lok planet, and actually want to engage ourselves in a eternal service of the Lord. So that is what we call is a devotional service. So here the Srila Prabhupada said that Sri Isopanishad petitions the Lord to remove the effulgent rays of a Brahma Jyotir so that pure devotee can see his all blissful transcendental form. So prayer is made here, So kindly remove the effulgent, Brahma Jyotir from the face, so devotees can able to see the Lord's real form. Okay, we'll continue with the purport. Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. By realizing the impersonal Brahmajyoti, one experiences the auspicious aspect of the Supreme, and by realizing the Paramatma, or all-pervading feature of the Supreme, one experiences an even more auspicious enlightenment. But by meeting the personality of Godhead himself face to face, the devotee experiences the most auspicious feature of the Supreme. Since he is addressed as the primeval philosopher and maintainer and well-wisher of the universe, the supreme truth cannot be impersonal. This is the verdict of Isopanishad. The word Pushan, maintainer, is especially significant, for although the Lord maintains all beings, he specifically maintains his devotees. After surpassing the impersonal Brahmajyotir and seeing the personal aspect of the Lord and his most auspicious eternal form, the devotee realizes the absolute truth in full.
Okay, so here the further information is given. Srila Prabhupada is saying here that by realizing the impersonal Brahma Jyotir, one experiences the auspicious aspect of the Supreme, and by realizing Paramatma, all-pervading feature of the Supreme, one experiences even more auspicious enlightenment. But by meeting personality of Godhead himself face to face, devotee experiences the most auspicious feature of the Supreme. Right. So here it is said that actually, one can reach to the platform of a Brahman stage, right? So after the liberation, you can get to the Brahman stage, which is very auspicious as well. But if you progress further to the Paramatma realization, so this all-pervading form. So as a Lord Krishna, actually he expand further into the actually Purusha expansions, So it is said that actually after the creation, Lord as a Garbhodakshai Vishnu, actually this is the expansion from Mahavishnu, that actually he enters into the each universe, and further again he expands into the Shirodakshai Vishnu, which is actually which enters into the all the living entities and every item of the material creation as a Paramatma. So that is all pervading form. It is also called a Shuddha Sattva. So the Paramatma is actually present everywhere. That's how Krishna is present everywhere. So he's present in the heart of all the living entities as well as in the every item, actually living or non-living. So this Paramatma aspect here, Srila Prabhupada says that even more auspicious than a Brahma Jyotir. And ultimately, if you further progress further by the devotional service, then you will able to actually attain to the stage of a Bhagwan realization, where you will have the opportunity, you may have the opportunity to see the Lord face to face. And that is the most auspicious. So actually there is there is actually a reference given in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1st. And this is actually one of the pastime of Narad Muni, where it is mentioned. Let me just read that out to you. Okay, so this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse 4. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apasyata purusham purnam mayam cha dat apashayam So it is said that thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in a devotional service, that is Bhakti Yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. So actually, this is the actually verse where it is actually explained that actually Narad Muni saw the Lord, face to face. And it is said in the purport that perfect vision of absolute truth is possible only by linking process of devotional service. And this is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service, and one can enter into the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Imperfect realization of absolute by a partial approach of an impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma does not permit anyone to enter into the kingdom of God. Sri Narad advised Srila Vyasdev to become absorbed in transcendental meditation on the personality of Godhead and his activities. Srila Vyasdev did not take notice of a effulgence of a Brahman because that is not absolute vision. The absolute vision is the personality of Godhead, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that is actually chapter 7, verse 19. In the Upanishad also it is confirmed that Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the golden glowing Hiranmayena Patrena, the wheel of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord, the real face of the Absolute is seen. The Absolute is mentioned here as the Purusha, the person. The absolute personality of God is mentioned. So many Vedic literature and in Bhagavad Gita, the Purusha is confirmed as an eternal and original person. Absolute personality of Godhead is a perfect person. The supreme person has manifold energies, out of which internal, external, and marginal energies are specifically important. So this is just a part of that purport. So here it is clearly said that actually by only linking process of devotional service, you can get to the stage of ultimate realization of a Bhagavan, of Lord Krishna, the Bhagavan realization, the complete realization. By actually just approaching the impersonal Brahman or attaining the Paramatma realization, you are not actually allowed to enter into the kingdom of God, that is a Golok Vrindavan or even Vaikuntha Lok planets. You have to actually progress further, through the devotional service. One has to actually render the devotional service unto the Lord. So that is the only method to actually get to the stage of actually the complete and the most auspicious realization of a Lord Krishna as a Bhagavan or the Purusha. The perfect person realization. So that is actually clearly stated there that actually devotional service is the only mean to actually get to this actually the third and most important Bhagwan realization phase, right? So we have to actually keep that in mind. And coming back to the actually Srila Prabhupada's purport, so Srila Prabhupada said that actually even the Brahman realization is auspicious, but even what is more auspicious is the Paramatma realization, right? So even Paramatma realization, there is a some degree of actually personalism there, actually it's Purusha incarnation. But actually, if you progress further with the devotional service, by rendering devotional service, under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master,
Hare
then you will slowly progress to the stage of Bhagwan realization.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji, I think you have to mute yourself. Okay. So, and the Bhagwan realization is called the most auspicious, they're actually the topmost realization. And why it is called most auspicious? Because, as I said before as well, in the actually Brahman realization, there is no any actually reciprocation, there is no bliss. In a Brahman realization, you cannot actually render service to the Lord, you can only attain to the stage of knowledge and the eternity, you cannot go further because you haven't actually progressed further to get to the stage of actually rendering devotional service, the actually pure devotional service unto Lord Krishna. But once you actually progress further, so the bhakti yoga process, they where actually you are actually progress, and actually you get to the Brahma Bhuta platform, so basically liberated form. And then when you're actually serving a personal service to the Lord, so that is actually pure devotional service, and there is a reciprocation. And Srila Prabhupada says that actually when you render pure devotional service on a transcendental platform, then actually you experience actually the blissful form of the Lord and his full six opulences. You know, so Srila Prabhupada gave this example. That actually if you associate with the prime minister of a country, so you get the opportunity to actually, because you are the servant of a prime minister. So because you are servant, you will be always, in a personal, you are actually in a personal association, and you get to travel with him as well. So whatever opulences he enjoys, then you also get to enjoy the similar opulences, even you are actually serving him. So similarly here, actually, when you render a pure devotional service to Lord Krishna, then actually Srila Prabhupada says that you also experience that all those six opulences, you also get all blissful, you are actually, bliss increases, you become more and more happier. And this is transcendental happiness, it is ever increasing happiness. So that blissful actually aspect is realized, on this Bhagwan realization, on the topmost realization. And that's why it is called, is a most auspicious, as compared to the Brahman or Paramatma. Okay, and the further, Srila Prabhupada is again pointing out the personal aspect of the Lord Krishna here. Here is said that actually his address as a primeval philosopher, maintainer, well-wisher of the universe, the supreme truth cannot be impersonal. So this is the verdict of Sri Isopanishad. The word Pushan or maintainer is especially significant. For although Lord maintains all being, he specifically maintains his devotees, And after surpassing the impersonal Brahma Jyotir and seeing the personal aspect of the Lord and his most auspicious eternal form, the devotee realizes the absolute truth in full. So these actually the addresses as a primeval philosopher, maintainer, well-wisher, so Srila Prabhupada especially point out the actually Pushan, maintainer. So these are all the symptoms of the personality, So these are actually the symptoms of the personal aspect of the Lord, And as a Pushan, as a maintainer, So in a previous verse as well, mantra 15, it is Lord Krishna is called a sustainer of all beings, and everything. So Lord Krishna maintains everyone, all the living entities and all this cosmic manifestation, material and spiritual. So his ultimate maintainer. Even Bhagavad Gita, it is said that actually Lord Krishna, everything rests into him, and he is in everything as well. So what that means is that actually all this cosmic creation, all the living beings, all the everything that we see is actually rested or maintained in his energies or potencies, as it is mentioned in the previous purport that here Lord has manifold, different potencies and energies. So there is external energy, there is internal energy, and there is a marginal energy. So all these energies are actually the Lord Krishna's potencies. They are the Lord's energies, and everything rests into those energies. So everything rests unto Lord Sri Krishna. So he actually maintains everything, and he's into everything. Is what that mean is he enters as a Paramatma, as I said, into all the living entities, in their hearts, and into actually within each item as well of this creation as a Paramatma. So this is a all pervading feature. So that's how he actually is maintaining everyone and everything. But he especially maintains his devotees, the pure devotees. So that's why it is said that actually, once you actually get to the stage of actually rendering a pure devotional service, then you are actually put under the protection of an internal potency, Antaranga Shakti, Then, as we discussed when we studied Nectar of Instruction, it is said, this point came up where it is described that when that particular soul is put under the protection of internal potency, then actually Lord takes charge. He takes charge of all his activities. He's directing him, personally. So that's how actually there is a special bond between the pure devotees and the Lord. So that point is actually very important, because as we surrender unto the Krishna, and when we render the devotional service, then Lord is actually helping us progress further. He reciprocates with us. That's why we've been taught that if we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna take 1,000 steps. So what that mean is that when you actually try to progress on this path, when you put the effort, when you try to render the service, then actually Lord will actually help you. Through actually He reveal through your heart as well, and and everybody experiences that. As soon as you start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, progress is there. And everybody has experienced this. So that is actually point I realized, from reading this purport. Okay, I think our time is almost there. I think it's 4:54. So I think we should stop. I think we still have to go through almost half of the purport, and they're all important points to be discussed. I think we should be able to complete that in the next week. So we will actually conclude here. Does anyone have any questions? So I can answer them. No? Okay. So still, actually, so you please go through the purport again. Please read the purport before you come to the next session. And if you have any questions, then you have the opportunity to post those questions in our intermediate platform by, I think we still have the next week. So I know you have more than a week actually. So you can post them, so we can actually compile all those questions, and then probably we can have another session as well. And I can also request some Brish Prabhu, if they're quite technical questions, because this purport is a very technical as well, as you may have realized, as we're going through the discussion. So yeah, so let's meet next week again, and we'll go through the rest of the purport. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधर भगवान की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरि हर बोल. Okay, thank you, thank you, Amrish Prabhu. I think we have finished here today. So probably we'll take a break for 5 minutes and come back for the main 5 o'clock session. Thank you. Hare Krishna.